Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to cover a couple things. I'm going to cover parenting, animating with that, and then I'm going to also go over again layers, and I'm going to cover something brand new called groups. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just create a cube, and I'm going to bring my pivot point. I'm going to hold D. That allows me to adjust the pivot point, and I'm going to hold V to snap it to vertex. You'll see this button here up here toggle on and off. X is for grid, V is for vertex. I don't remember what the other ones are for because these are the two that I use more than anything. So I'm going to hold V for vertex, and I'm going to just snap that down. D and V. Well, I'm just going to hold D, V, and Shift. There we go. There we go. So D, V, and Shift with middle mouse button click. And I want it to be directly in the center. So I'm going to hold D, V, and Shift, middle mouse button click, drag down, and there it is. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold X, and now I'm going to snap it to the grid. So now I have it perfectly lined up at both my vertex here and my grid here, and that's the first thing I'm going to do. I don't really need to worry about naming these because I'm going to have them in numbered order anyway. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you actually an extra cool little trick. I'm going to show you what's called duplicate with transform. So edit and duplicate with transform. Now what that does, I'm going to show you really quickly. I'm going to press Shift D, and then I'm just going to bring it up like so. And that should be, give or take, enough room for what I need it for. And I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 should be okay. So what the duplicate with transform does is it retains the exact measurement of any of these settings here in the channel box. It retains them in sort of like memory, and when you press Shift D again, it's going to translate, in this case, 1.616 here, and if you do the math, that should equal, if you double that number, it should equal that, and it's just going to duplicate that. Another great feature that I use duplicate transform for is this, but also rotation. I like to keep, whenever I rotate something that I want to be around a perfectly sort of set spot. So let me just show you really quickly. This is just a neat trick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my pivot point here. And what I'll do is, let's just say I want to rotate this. I'm going to press Shift D on this one, and I'm going to just say rotate on Y, let's say there. And then I'm going to press Shift D all the way around, and you'll see you get a nice even flow around it. You'd have to, in order for it to match up perfectly, you'll have to do the math and figure out how many degrees you need it to rotate, but you get the idea. So that's another great use for a modeling tip for duplicate with transform. Okay, back to parenting, animating, layers, and groups. The first thing I want to do after I have my 5 cubes set up here, excuse me, I want to go ahead and parent these. And I'm going to start, it's in a hierarchy, I'm going to start from the top, I'm going to hold shift and click the next one and press P. So hold this one, shift select this one, press P. And you'll notice now that when you select that, it will highlight the other one, as well as here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select this one, just this one, shift select this one, press P, hold shift, press P, and P. And when I select the bottom, it should highlight all of them. When I select this one, it should highlight all of the ones above until you get to the top. Now, I'm going to teach you a little bit about lag in animating. So, the first thing I want you to do is, let's say every, I don't know, 10 frames or something, we're going to animate this, and we're just going to focus on rotation. So we've got this set up. If now would be a good time to save, by the way. And I save that as my ASC2, but I could also save it out as my binary. Save as, continue. Alright, now getting into animating, what I'm going to do first is about every 10 frames first thing I'm going to do is I can create a select all for this also. In my custom tab, I'm going to select each one holding shift and create set quick select set. Call it see all, add to shelf. That's for, that's for cube all. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and begin to animate. And I'm going to animate on my x-axis. And first off, I'm going to hit all, and I'm going to press S. And that will create a keyframe, all of them at this point. Now, I'm going to go out to like frame 10. And I'm going to animate each one of these. Or let's say 12. And I'm just going to focus on this viewport. And this time I'm going to do each one individually. And I'm just making the corners touch. Think of this as sort of like a spine. And these are the vertebrates. Alright. So it's going to start out going like so. And then I'm going to have it here. Go back the other way. Okay. So now I'm starting to get some of this lag that I was talking about. And then I'm going to have it go back again on frame 36 now. And this time I'm going to have it go even further down. And make sure you press S each time you make a movement. Okay. And then this time I'm going to have it go the other way. And I'm pressing S each time I make a movement. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and hit play. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all. I'm going to middle mouse button click and drag to frame 60 on all of these. I'm going to press S. Now I'm going to hit play one more time. And I'm going to have it stop on frame 72. I'm going to select all again. And press S. And then I'm going to hit play one more time. Okay, so we just covered a little bit of animating with our, let's do, okay, so we just covered a little bit of animating using parenting and just cubes. Now this is a really common thing for all types of animation rigs, and this is just the bare basics, basically, the basic principles of animating a rig. Now this is what is called an FK setup, so it's forward kinematics. There's also IK kinematics, that's inverse kinematics, and we're going to cover more about IK in our next lab, but just so you know, to give you a little bit of a heads up, this is known as an FK setup, forward kinematics, as each one in the way this is set up forwardly sort of animates to the next one. Okay, now once you have this, I want you to go ahead and I want you to create a layer. Create layer from selected, cube 1. Now because they're all parented, cube 3, cube 4. Now I'm not doing this as this is just as a refresher for all of you on how to create on how to create layers. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to show you what grouping is, and grouping is entirely different. So just as a refresher to show you, if I hide cube 1 layer here, it'll hide everything, so on and so forth. Well, it looks like this one, there we go, just as a refresher to show you how it works. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to show you what grouping is, and grouping is much different. Parenting and grouping are kind of similar in one way and entirely different in another. Now just as an example, if I create a cube and a sphere, okay, and I parent these together, now if I select this one, they're sort of in this group, but if I select this one, they're not. And if I press up on my arrow key, on the arrow key on your keyboard, it'll go up the hierarchy in order to get that next object selected in the hierarchy. Now there is another thing called grouping, and I'm going to create another cube and another sphere, and this two, if I press Control G, you'll see it says group 1. Now the difference between these is if I select this one and press up on the hierarchy, it selects, the sphere, but however I can't select the sphere just by itself. I can select the cube, however, individually, but not the sphere because it's parented. With this, I can select both of these, and if I press up on my keyboard, it will select the group, but it will not select. You will be able to select both objects individually, although they're in a group. This comes in a really big hand, really handy when you're building like a car and you want to increase scale of everything simultaneously. You're going to go ahead and create a group for every object in that scene on the car. Or it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be a city that you build in Maya. It could be really anything. And what we do from there is when you import into a scene, as I was showing you with our midterm, a lab right before the midterm is due, I was showing you to just scale one individual object to fit into the scene. Now you could import multiple objects and scale them all simultaneously with a really complicated model such as a car, as I was mentioning, character, whatever it might be, and scale it all simultaneously, which is really super useful. As you get more experienced with the software, you'll find that using different techniques for different things work better than others, and that's all a matter of just sort of trial and error. However, if you have any questions, I just want to see that you've created a couple layers here, and that you've also created a group in your scene, at least one. These I can delete because I don't need those. Here's my group, and then here's my animation. So I want to see that you have an animation in your scene, layers, parented. You won't be able to animate properly without the parenting here. And then I want to see that you've created a group. You can rename the group. Typically I'll use a format such as, let's just call it like cube sphere grp, and I use that for group. So when I'm in my outliner, and again, Control G groups your objects together. And if I go into my outliner, just to show you, you'll see here that this is, you'll see it even has my quick select set in there, and it has my entire parented objects in here all together, and then it also has in my P cube this is my parenting here, and this is my quick select set that you see, custom, and then my group, you'll see, is got a different icon there. So anyway, I just want you to go ahead and submit a file just like this, 72 frames of animation with it rocking back and forth, and a group file, and then layers down here. Okay? If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a message or email. Shoot me a message on Canvas, and I'll respond as quickly as I possibly can. Alright, well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.